It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
I just realized I didn't have the camera turned off for the intro. Oh well, you know me and my technical issues. I constantly screwing things up. Good morning and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News. On the 26th day of May in 2020, I'm coming to you from Central Virginia, Bedford County, right outside of Lynchburg. Another nice spring day today. It's not going to be overly hot, but it's going to be up in the mid 70s and sunny. At least we've gotten away from the rain, although it rained a little bit during the night, but it's not bad. But anyway, going to probably spend a little more time outside today, starting to maneuver my way out. The guys still haven't come and put the new liner in the pool, so I don't have the pool yet. But we'll get to that one of these days. So, two questions have been asked. One about the cats, Cottonelle and Charmin, the COVID kitties. They are doing fine. They have now discovered the cave, which is where I live. My part of the farm is we call it the cave. And they come in and get up on my bed, which my bed is right over there. All right. And they get up on my bed and they launch across about a 3.5, maybe close to 4 foot space from my bed to the back of my desk, which is just literally on the other side of the computers. Okay. And there's about, there's 18 inches of desk behind my laptops. I have 2 laptops in here. So they managed to do that. And then they walk around and yell and stuff just to aggravate me. And they come around and get on the keyboards of either of the computer, and they turn the keyboards into a trampoline. And they bounce up and down on the keyboards. Can you imagine what that does to anything I'm trying to write? And putting prices on the website, updating prices of cruises and anything. So I get all kinds of weird stuff. Thankfully, thanks to the kitties. They decided last night, they came in at 2:30. Decided it was time for me to get up at 2:30 a.m. So they are now sleeping someplace after they kept me up all night. So anyway, let's get to, so we've got a couple things on the news front today. Folks, I tell you, is my attitude about cruising changing? Maybe a little, softening some. I'm not going to be quite as a downer today as much as I have been. But there's, according to cruise line executives, cruise ships could begin sailing this summer, although passengers wanting to be on board may have to go to either Europe or Asia, assuming they can get there. Both Asia and Europe are ahead of the United States in terms of the recoveries of the current health situation, which has allowed cruise line executives to believe those markets might be quicker to see a return of the ships and cruises. So that's the Asian market. I think that's Shanghai, maybe. It's a good possibility that's going to be the area you're going to see things first, folks, and maybe sooner rather than later. From what they're saying, I think later still in the States, but Norwegian Cruise Line President Frank Del Rio said the U.S. isn't the only country concerned with the current health crisis. The European Union have a more The European Union have a more unified plan in place to gradually reopen borders and therefore tourism. So that's very helpful and encouraging. Del Rio warned that nothing was going to happen overnight, This is going to take some time, and we want to do it right, he said. Similar sentiments were echoed by Royal Caribbean President Michael Bailey. It is very different story by region and by country, and it's likely that either Asia or Europe markets might be returning to cruising first. And a quote, of course, they went through the experience earlier. That's particularly true of China, so they are a little bit ahead of other countries as far as the recovery goes. As of now, Royal Caribbean's website shows a 3-night cruise from Hong Kong to Shanghai, sailing July the 12th to the 15th, 2020. That may be the first cruise of a major cruise line if they can get all the approvals and so forth over there. While Norwegian Cruise Line does not currently have any sailings listed out of China, there are some cruises slated to leave in August for such ports as Rome, Barcelona, and Athens. So, I mean, I'm still very doubtful of cruises going anywhere in this country for some time, but I guess it's a possibility that there could be some cruises elsewhere in the world. So we'll see. I still don't see things getting much better here for some time yet. I mean, we still have numbers that are going as of this morning. There's 4 states that spiked their worst days ever over the weekend. There's, I think it's 20 states that the numbers are going up. Now, the others are steady, and still as the country is coming down slightly, not fast, but slightly coming down. So it's slightly going in the right direction. But it's still, I mean, the travel restrictions are still in place in this country, and they've just added Brazil today. That went into effect, I think it's 5 o'clock this afternoon, that Brazil will now there'll be no flights from Brazil or to Brazil from this country. So, I mean, that's all got to get worked out before we can cruise from here. Now, maybe some European places and some Asian places, they can get things started. Okay. One of the problems, and one of the things that we've talked about several times, is that before it works, the airlines have got to be working. And of course, they've made some major changes. So this is what it's going to look like on an airplane here pretty soon, if not already. Airline passengers this summer will face a host of new policies and procedures, and possibly a few packed flights because of the pandemic. You know, they've still got a lot of flights that are canceled, so that's loading everything up to the max as opposed to doing any spacing. Whether that's going to change or not, who knows? I mean, I understand the economics of the situation. They got to sell so many tickets to make a flight pay, but still. And of course, for the airlines, this weekend kicked off their what's normally their busiest season, when the airports are jammed and flights are often sold out. An uptick is occurring this year, but then that's an uptick from virtually close to zero. The Transportation Security Administration says 348,000 people passed through security checkpoints at U.S. airports on Friday. That's the highest number in over 2 months, and more than 3 times the number of people a month ago. But it's still 80% down compared to the same day last year. Airlines have scrambled to adapt to the new environment. The plunge in demand sapped them out of revenues, losing money for the first time in years. U.S. airlines have idled thousands of planes and slashed flights. in some destinations by 90% of the norm, and a bill to reduce their cash burn. That means more connecting flights for many travelers used to the convenience of nonstop flights. And I'm not sure that's going to change anytime soon. They've also implemented a number of new measures aimed at reducing contact between travelers, crews, and other airport workers in an effort to ease concerns about the spread of COVID-19 during travel. So the travelers will scan their own paper or electronic boarding passes to limit contact between the officers and TSA folks. TSA asks travelers to put food they're bringing along into clear plastic bag and remove that from the carry-on bag, so officers don't have to remove it from the passenger's bag if it sets off an alarm in the X-ray scanners. Phones, keys, and wallets should go right into carry-on bags to reduce touch points during the screening process. Yeah, that's one of the things. I mean, I've always just taken stuff out and dumped them in that little tray, my wallet and my keys and my money and my phone and anything else I'm carrying. Well, we're going to have to get better at that. Airlines are trying to make changes before travelers reach their seats to protect travelers and crews. United has started using sneeze guards at check-in counters and other customer service area. It started rolling out touchless kiosks to print bag tags using a smartphone, and some airports expect to put more of them at airports around the U.S. in coming weeks. One of the biggest challenges of the COVID-19 crisis for air travel is the authority over traveler health screenings isn't clear. Who's in charge of this? We don't seem to know. Homeland Security is in charge of TSA. Customs is involved. Nobody knows who's responsible. So obviously, their cleaning procedures totally changed. Their air filtering procedures on the planes has been changed in many cases, and has gotten more effective in removing any pathogens and germs and stuff that are airborne. Masks are becoming the norm. If you're going to fly, you're going to wear a mask. Those of you that don't like it, probably tough. You're not going to get on a plane. You can do all the screaming about your rights and violating your constitutional rights by the government telling you have to wear a mask. Those of you that are thinking that way and believe that way, then you won't be traveling, because every time you exercise your rights, you're infringing on somebody else's rights. Their right is to stay healthy and safe, and you going without a mask is hurting them. So it's going to be interesting who's going to be responsible for that, for those rules and regs, and responsible for not allowing people to get on airplanes if they're not going to wear a mask, for instance. All right, let's pause for a second. I'll be back. I got a couple more things for you. Do you have a bad back, bad hips, bad knees, or any other mobility issues? Think about Scootaround. For scooters, walkers, wheelchairs, even oxygen needs, delivered right to your cabin. Scootaround for all your mobility needs on your upcoming cruise. Hi, get up and do-si-do around the desk with Tina Turtle here in a minute. That, my friends, is a cruise ship, a small ship that sails. It's Bahamas Paradise Cruise, and it sails out of where is it? West Palm, or it's a small line. It runs Bahamas cruises mostly. But the U.S. Virgin Islands may see its first ever floating hotel operation in the harbor at St. Thomas, courtesy of Bahamas Cruise Line CEO O'Neill Cosa. He offered to temporarily deploy one of the company's 2 cruise ships to the U.S. Virgin Islands for boosting the tourism after COVID-19 pandemic dies down. During Thursday's Health, Hospitals, and Human Services Senate Committee meeting, Cosa said the liner was a perfect 5-star hotel. He added that in a post-coronavirus era, having a floating hotel and partnering with the Virgin Islands government and trade associations could be a win-win situation. One of the cruise ships displayed via video to the senators was the Grand Classica, which usually cruises on round trips from home port West Palm Beach to the Bahamas. And this little line got known for some of the relief work they did after the hurricanes in the Bahamas. They ran numerous ships back and forth with supplies for the Bahamas after that was virtually wiped out. I've never cruised them. Quite frankly, I don't ever remember seeing one of their ships. I think I only have 2 ships out of West Palm. I don't know that much about them, but I sure like some of the things that they've done. Hats off to them, really. Who knows? Maybe they'll get so they can start sailing out of West Palm a little before the majors do. Yeah, I'm not suggesting that, folks. It's a possibility. But anyway, I kind of like what I hear about these guys, even though it's a smaller line and it's not something that everybody, jumps through hoops to go on cruises of theirs. But well, it's an interesting thing. All right. So that was a feel-good story. Now, how about a feel-bad story? I'm a sports junkie. And when you're talking about your major sports things like your Super Bowls and the Daytona 500 and the NBA Finals and baseball's All-Star Game and the World Series, and then there's the Iditarod. That's a major sporting event in some areas, folks. I mean, they get up there with the mushers and the dogs and the snow in the middle of the damn winter for days at a time, freezing their butts off to race from, I don't know, Anchorage to Fair. I don't know where the hell they go. Anyway, I did it right. It's up there in this, where it's called. Thomas Werner won this year's Iditarod trail sled dog race in March. He's still waiting to get home in Norway. Wagner and his 16 dogs have been stranded in Alaska by travel restrictions and flight cancellations caused by COVID-19. The Anchorage Daily News reported this weekend. I like Alaska a lot, Weiner said. It's kind of a dream place, but I have a family. Weiner has 5 children, 35 other sled dogs in Torpa, Norway. He missed the 10th birthday of one of his children and says he misses morning coffee with his wife. And he's still stuck in Alaska because of the travel restrictions. He's got friends that are other mushers up there, and they've been taking care of his dogs. And they think now he's able to get he and the dogs on a charter flight sometime later this week. So maybe this is 2 months after the Iditarod. Maybe he and his dogs can get home to Norway. I don't know how much money they win for winning the Iditarod. I'm sure he's probably gone through that and then some. Feel sorry for the guy. My goodness. Talking about bad timing. Okay. I recently talked to my Minnesota buddy, John Reitmeyer, about his favorite cruise ship.
Boy, that's a question, because it's sort of like, what's your favorite girl to go out on a date with? And there's the girls that you want to take to the 3-2 beer joint, and there's the girls you want to take to the prom. But I think that when it really comes down to it, my favorite ship is the Epic, the Norwegian cruise line Epic. And a lot of people would say, wow, how do you like that ship? Because, there's some quirks about the Epic. The biggest quirk, of course, is the split bathroom with only the sliding glass doors on the toilet and the shower. But first of all, I'm generally a solo cruiser, so doors open, doors closed, doors leak, not really an issue for me. And of course, when I'm in the solo cabins, which the Epic has the most magnanimous grouping of solo cabins in the middle of the ship, and that's always fun too. And even if I'm not in the solo cabins, I join in with the solo group. So overall, it's a lot of fun. The layout of the ship is wonderful for me. The staff on the ship, for whatever reason, has just been a staff that I just click with, right up to the captain. I don't know why, but it's just been a great ship for me, and I like it. I mean, I've been on 5 other lines and several ships on the other lines, and many NCL ships. And for me, if you sum it all up, I got to tell you, I still like the Epic.
All right. Thanks, John. Of course, John, as most of you guys know, John and Pete and I co-host the Cruises for Solo show on Sunday. And boy, if you missed it on Sunday again this week, well, we had a fabulous guest, Nate Valier, who is developing excursions in Alaska, and not necessarily off of a cruise ship. I mean, you want to go see Alaska, boy, talk to Nate and do a package and go up there, and they create packages for folks year round. It's just there's a lot of stuff to do in Alaska in the wintertime, and the cruise ships don't go up there in the wintertime. But it was a fascinating show, I thought. I enjoyed it immensely. I've been enjoying the Sunday shows a lot, but it was another great day. So if you missed it Sunday, go look at, you'll find it, on links on my channels and on Cruises for Solos, YouTube and Facebook. It's well worth taking the hour and watching it because he's fascinating. I also asked our friend Emily Archer about her favorite protocol, and I've been around Emily now. I've talked to her several times, off the air and stuff, and I almost get dizzy with Emily because she's a ball of fire. But anyway, I asked her about her favorite protocol. Now, admittedly, Emily's not cruised as much as many of us have, so she's got a little different perspective. But we love Emily to death. I don't know if she's here yet today because I haven't looked at comments yet, folks. I'll get to them in a minute. But here's Emily on her favorite.
So when I did go on the NCL Dawn, my favorite port of call was in Canada. And we were there on June 4th. I'm looking at my phone, get all the information for you guys. And we were in St. John's. However, we drove to a place called Kingston. And there we learned how to make maple syrup from the trees. So they took us into the woods. Literally, I don't know if you guys can. That was our tour guide there. And we went by tree, and he showed us all the equipment, how to make syrup. And then eventually we came to, before that, I'm sorry. He introduced us to the maples, different leaves there. And then eventually we came to this place, which all the maple syrup ran into. I'm sorry, I'm trying to work the camera here. There we go. All right. And then we went inside and we saw how the syrup works, how the syrup became kind of hard to see. There, can you guys see it? There we go. And then took that whole tour, came back, and guess what? We finally got to eat pancakes.
That's great.
So that was my favorite part, was going up into the woods, coming back. No, but I did learn about how to make maple syrup. So that was very interesting because he did show us the tools, how they got the tools into the tree into the maple syrup. And then they have that whole big factory down way into the woods. So we had to trek back down through the woods again and came back into the house and we had pancakes.
And that's Emily Archer. I love her to death. Okay, let's go see who's here today. I didn't even come over here before we got started. By the way, folks, if you're new to this channel, we do silly stuff like this all the time. Welcome aboard. As always, I love thumbs up if you give them to me. If you give me thumbs down, Tina Turtle, that's Tina Turtle back there. She'll get upset, but hell, I don't care. Okay, Gretchen's here. Hey, Gretchen, how are you? Tom Henry's with us. Tom says, I need a musical keyboard, record them for some hits. Yeah, he's talking about the cats doing their trampoline routine on my keyboard. Let's see. Gretchen says, no Asia for me, but I sure will consider an early spring or even late fall Enchanted Princess reboot. You know, who was it that? It was Emma Latisse. I did one Asia trip and loved it. So I mean, I realized that it's that's where the virus thing started, but still, it looks like they're getting a handle on it over there, getting a better handle on it there than we are here. So, John says, bah humbug, it's all chatter. Oh, you mean the news? Yeah, it's all chatter. Well, that's probably true. Tom says, how convenient. We have lots of ships in Southeast Asia. Well, yeah. And I can see some of what they're saying, that maybe they're ahead of us and maybe they can actually start. So I'm still wondering, are people get on cruise ships as quick? As much as I love to cruise, especially being a senior citizen and in that pesky group of people that, everybody's trying to protect, am I going to want to put myself to a position of being endangered and endangering my family when I get back home, just because of my love for cruising? Yeah, that's a tough call, folks. And I'm coming from, you guys know what I think about cruising, how much I love to cruise. But I've got to really seriously consider that. I mean, remember, my sister's 10 years older than I am, and I live with her. So, she's in her 80s now, and her better half is in his mid 80s. So things got to be pretty safe, and I hope they are. Don't get me wrong. I'm not down in cruising because I want to go as badly as anybody. But boy, I gotta feel really comfortable to go. John says North Dakota is making plans for a K-12 distance learning this fall. Says might not need to, but it's they're in the planning for it. What does that tell you? That's one of the major discussion points here the last couple of days, is what they're going to do with kids and schools and so forth. There obviously people are considering that as a possibility. Then there's the people that want everything to be opened, and part of that is getting the kids back in school because mom and dad have to have the kids in school so they can go to work. And I mean, it's a trickle down thing, and it's all got to be done safely, and more safely than the way we've operated in the past, which comes back to the social distancing and the mask and all that. And you still got people, some of the people that were on the beach this weekend that were interviewed. I said, well, I don't even remember which channel I was flicking channels and was watching, that some of the people that are on the beach says, oh, we're not worried about it. And if we get it, we'll just get it. We'll die. We're going to go to the beach anyway. So I don't know. See, Gretchen says, geez, North Dakota. Yeah. Tom Henry says, Captain Kirk, come get me. I'll cruise in space. Captain Kirk. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it. That's the first time, Tom Henry, that we've talked about Captain Kirk on this channel. Wow, that's great. Amy's here. Amy says, I'm late again to chat, but she's here. Good to have you, Amy. And Cindy pops in. Hello from Dallas. Glad to have you with us again, Cindy. Good to see you. And Jason is here from Pittsburgh. Jason, I've missed out on getting you to do our little taping things for our little clips. So I still got, anytime you can do it, let me know, and we'll knock out a couple little quick little tapes. And any of you that have not done it, that don't know me or don't follow me on Facebook, one thing, you can also go follow me on Facebook if you want to be able to message me directly, because I think it's YouTube messages they don't seem to get where they're needed to go unless you put it in directly in the comments to a video, which that way I clearly get it. But those of you that are not regulars on my Facebook page, that I chat with regularly anyway, but would like to do one of our silly little tapes on your favorite cruise and your favorite cruise port, let me know. Drop me a line. I've got my where is it? That's up here. No, that's that's under banners. Yeah. Drop me a line at chilliefalls@gmail.com. That's my email. Drop me an email and I'll get back to you, and we'll do a 2 or 3 minute little video. It can be as little or as long as you want. We're very happy with that. Okay, let's see. Back to comments. Emily's here. Hi, Emily. She says, good morning, Chillie, and good morning to everybody else. Tom, of course, is in Richmond, Virginia, and not where he would like to be, on a cruise ship someplace. Amy says airlines say they'll start loading from back to front to lessen contact. But what about Southwest? People choose their seats on those flights, and normally they aren't in the back. Yeah, something tells me there's a lot of rules yet with the airlines that are going to change. I don't think we're near to the end of it. And that's just like the beaches bothered me this weekend. Some of the films from that. Man, we're going to be in trouble if people don't do this smartly. You need to listen to some of the government folks, because at least they have a plan. And again, I'm making no political statement, folks, because this was Cuomo in New York. Whether you like him or don't like him, that's neither here nor there. He's done I think, a masterful job with handling the worst state with the COVID crisis. And he did it using the president's, his committee's guidelines that they put out. And he religiously did exactly what the White House said. So you got Republicans that said that, and you got a Democrat doing what the Republican said, and nobody seems to care about that because they still do all the political crap back and forth. But I appreciate the way he's handled things in New York, and they obviously have gotten a handle on things. Now, yeah, they're not opening as fast as other places. They're starting to, but they've also come a lot further, longer way. And again, folks, I'm not making any political statement. I stay totally non-political as much as I can, because I hate politics, both sides. I don't trust any of them. But anyway, I kind of like what he's done up there. Emily says that Cuomo was very animate yesterday about the importance of wearing a mask. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I hate about the president. The part of his guidelines is, and his people say that you need to wear the mask, and then he doesn't wear the mask because he thinks it makes him look bad or something. I don't know. Chillie isn't so chilly now. I wonder if that's really his real name. No, as a matter of fact, it's not. It's really Charles. And I've never been called Charles. Well, I had one teacher in high school, in the 10th grade English teacher that called me Charles. She refused to use a nickname. Of course, Tommy and Pat, that was okay. Those weren't nicknames, but Chillie was a nickname. So she refused to call me that. But in my life, I've never been called anything but Chillie. So, and if you're wondering how it came about, my father, when he was growing up, and that was about 150 years ago, he was growing up in Roanoke, Virginia, and there was a little kid in his neighborhood that had a speech defect. And when the kid tried to say Charlie, it came out Chillie. And all my dad's friends made fun of the little kid by calling my dad Chillie, and it stuck. And when I came along, my sister, that's right upstairs, a pain in the butt sister of mine, says, "Oh, he's going to be little Chillie." So I was little Chillie, as long as my dad lived. And then I became a big Chillie, a big fat Chillie. And that's the truth. I've never been called anything but that. If somebody called me Charles, I probably wouldn't answer. Where did they hide the balconies? Oh, you're talking about yeah, I don't think they have any. I don't know. I've never been on mothership. I've never seen mothership, so I don't even know. Cindy says, doesn't look like it has any balcony rooms. Yeah, it doesn't. So I can't really answer that one. It's just that I like some of the things that they've managed to do. Jason says the cruise ships have saved a lot of people stranded at sea too over the years. They've done some neat stuff for a little cruise line. You know, they can't be too plush with money. I mean, it's a small cruise line, and all they run back and forth is from West Palm to the Bahamas. So maybe maybe that's a secret. They keep their expenses down. I have no idea. But one of these days, I'm gonna go down there and take one of their cruises just because I like what they've done. Maybe sometime when I'm doing a cruise someplace else, I'll stop by West Palm and do whatever they are. I don't even know if that's 3, 4, 5 days. What are they? I don't know what they do. But it's it's worth it. So, all right, everybody's talking about names. Everybody's gotten sidetracked on names. Jason says, I tend to only watch the cruise influencers that go live. Amy says, Parody J and Edna's World YouTube channels both have gone on Bahamas Paradise Line in the last year and really liked it. Check out their vlogs. They both tacked that cruise onto a Florida vacation. Interesting. Again, I've never been on a small line like that, but they've done some neat things, and I'm gonna have to try them out just because. But Pete's here. Pete from London. So we've got somebody in the crowd that talks funny. Good to have you with us, Pete. Of course, as always, I've already given your show a plug. It was another great show on Sunday, I mean. Emily says it was a great show. Watching Nate in Alaska, definitely worth the trip. I totally enjoyed it. I tell you what, the Sunday shows have been outstanding this month. So it's going to be a challenge for Pete and John and I to keep that up because, man, they have been outstanding. They've really, really been good. So, Bonnie's with us. Hey, Bonnie, glad you made it. I know you haven't been feeling totally above board. Gretchen says she's scared of Asia even before COVID. Yeah, well, I don't know. I've not been to Asia. I've not done a cruise over there. I'm just going from what Emma said she loved it and would go back. So, Jason says your sister started smoking again. Yeah, I accused her of that because of the ashtray, but actually she didn't. She would be. It would be more likely that I would start smoking. But she did have an ashtray that was in a drawer that went in the dishwasher, and I gave her hell about it. But she really, she didn't. So, any update on Canada opening up for cruise ships? The only thing that I know, Cindy, is still July the 1st. And then we've got the dates of August the 1st with the CDC. I'm reasonably sure that Canada is not going to shorten it any. They're more likely to lengthen it. Especially, a lot depends on what happens with the other countries around us now. Like Mexico is having an awful time right now. And excuse me, Mexico's having a terrible time. And of course, South American countries are going through some really bad times with it. So I don't see the travel restrictions being shortened any of either the United States or Canada. If they start some cruising elsewhere in the world, maybe that'll help push us toward getting things opened here as well. I'm as much as I don't want to say it, I'm still thinking we got to get through 3 or 4 months without having major spikes before we can get back to comfortably thinking we can cruise again, is my thinking on it. There are lots of kids who do not do well with distance learning in Scandinavia. They have outdoor classes. I appreciate teachers so much more now. Isn't that the truth? My goodness. The ones that have been creative enough to come up with ways of getting past this, that's pretty awesome. Tom's been on a Star Trek Star Trek rant for over 24 hours now. More like 50 years, Jason. Okay. Let's see what else we got down here. But Jason's political statement, yeah, well, sort of, but it really wasn't. I mean, I try not to. I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't care what anybody believes in, whether you're Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative. And I try not to show my hand in any way because I don't want to offend people who believe differently than whatever beliefs I might have, unless it affects our cruising and travel life directly. Then I'll take a position on it. And I have taken, several positions against the administration because I disagreed with the things that they've done against travel. So that's where I draw my lines. So if things calm down, Pete says, if things calm down in the UK, may think about a last-minute Northern Lights cruise from Southampton. Well, boy, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Anyway, that was, Tom Henry likes the Chillie Willie penguin. Yeah, I'll look like a penguin. Give me a tuxedo and I look like a fat penguin. But anyway, that's going to about wrap me up. Yeah, Bonnie says that her home port, West Palm. I'll go down and stay with Bonnie and get on one of those boats. That's what I'm going to do. I said that'd be cool. So anyway, that's going to wrap me up for today, folks. Thanks for all the comments. Boy, the comments just keep flying in. You guys do such a good job of conversing back and forth amongst yourselves. I enjoy it immensely. So that's going to wrap me up for today, guys. What is today? Today's Tuesday. So I will see you guys on Thursday. Stay safe. excuse me, wear the mask. Later.
Thank you for watching today's Travel and Cruise Industry News. Join us every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern for another episode. Travel and Cruise Industry News is a production of Chillie's Cruises.